and we are going to be starting off tonight talking about a little project that I've been mentioning on social media today. I've seen a little confusion about it in the chat, so I figured I'd start off the stream before jumping into the chat, before catching up with everyone, making sure everyone's okay, just to kind of give you a heads up and kind of just explain my thought process with this. Now, I've been mentioning this before, and I've been really trying to think this thing through. I've been playing around with a lot of things as well, trying to figure out how I could best do it, what the purpose of this would be, and how we could best go about doing it with the limited resources that I currently have and what I hope to have in the future. And so one of those things, of course, is what I'm calling a film preservation project. Now, it's not nearly as sexy or as amazing as Project 4K77 or Project 4K80, where they are saving 35mm prints of original Star Wars movies and scanning them and preserving them, though, believe me, I would love for that to be the case here. And maybe one day I can be that person. Maybe one day I could be making enough to be able to go out and actually buy 35mm prints of original films, specifically those films that are in danger. But at this point, obviously, financially, that is just not in the cards. And also, I wouldn't know where to start with that. And so I was thinking to myself, okay, well, what do I know how to do? What are some things that I can do right now? And as I said, some of this stuff might be reiterated from things you've heard previously. I gave a preview of this on a earlier random stream on the Twitch channel that I did earlier today. And basically, this is my mindset. This is my idea. My idea is, let's go ahead and let's start preparing for the worst case scenario. Now, is the worst case scenario going to happen? Who knows, right? What is the worst case scenario? The worst case scenario is this. Let's say that Hollywood really gets caught up in all of the wokeness and all of the politicking that's currently going on and decides not only to start canceling their films. We've seen this in a minor effect to what they've done with Gone with the Wind, where they took it off of HBO Max and they've attached something that you have to watch prior, a little a little short film to explain the historical relevancy, a little trigger warning to add to the very beginning of the film. But then we've also seen some other things, right? We've seen shows like Little Britain, where physical copies of that show, apparently by the BBC, are no longer being produced, right? So we're already seeing some forms of censorship where films are either already being altered in their digital formats, and if they're being altered in their digital formats, Lord knows that eventually those will transfer over to their physical formats. But then also it kind of leaves us in the position where, what if in the not too near future, and again, I think that we are absolutely looking at a situation where this is a theoretical possibility. We've seen book burning happen before when that was the major medium, right? How many stories, how many things have been lost in history because of that, where we could potentially be losing a lot of the films that we have. Not just them being taken off the shelves, but studios even saying, oh yeah, we're going to try and hunt down these copies and destroy them or put them in a vault or make them unavailable or only make them available with certain caveats. And so my idea is this. So this is my idea, my proposal for a film preservation project is going to be, I want to start the process of digitizing those movies that seem to be the most susceptible, that seem to be the most problematic, the most at risk of being either censored or canceled altogether. And my plan is to digitize those films in their original form, in their fullest form, right? The highest resolution possible, every single bit of data, all of the extra special features, everything, every single thing about it, to preserve it, store it, so that if ever it comes a time when we can't go out and buy a copy of a film, a studio says, nay, we're not going to sell this anymore. That at the very least here in Asgard, and hopefully by extension the Phantom Menace and anyone else really who wants it, that we will have access to the original copy of that film and kind of like an underground railroad almost, be able to get access to it and be able to give access to it. And so my plan is this. My plan is to look at the films that I already have, because as you all know, I've already digitized my entire collection. All of the Blu-rays I have on my shelves, I already have my own server where I've digitized them. But it's only in one form, right? It's only in one, it's listed as what we call an MKV file, right? So just think about an MP4 file, a video file. MKV is just another video format. What I want to do is I want to be able to take the movies and put them into what we call ISO files, sometimes .iso files. What that is it's an image file. Basically, it's what you put onto a blank Blu-ray, and once the file is on the blank Blu-ray, you put that into a Blu-ray player, boom, everything plays. It is just as if you have a direct copy-to-copy of that film. Now, let me just make it very clear. My plan is not to start ripping films off and putting them online for everyone to download, all right? So that we're not becoming Pirate Bay Part 2, right? That's not my plan. Rather, at this point, at this early stage, the plan is looking at the films, and obviously y'all can help me with this too, right? Y'all can say, hey, do you have this? Hey, maybe you should try and get this down, because the other part of the project is going to be hunting these things down, right? What are some films and some television series that are already being canceled, that are already being impacted, that are already being put in a position where it's either very hard for it to be accessible or it's being taken out altogether, right? That's something that is already happening. How do we find those films? How do we get those films and get access to them, digitize them, and then be able to therefore save them, right? And again, I'm sure there's other projects that are going on. I know many of you will say, well, the Pirate Bay, all these other places already do it. Here's the problem with Pirate Bay, though, is that let's say you want to access that. You don't know who you're getting that information from. You don't know what's attached to that information, what viruses are attached, what tracking information is attached to it as well. And mine is, again, not to become the next Pirate Bay. It's rather to take the media and to preserve it. All right, and here's where the project comes in. And again, this is just my own project. This is something that I'm trying to put forward as an alternative, as an option. And it goes a little bit something like this. All right, it goes a little bit something like this, right? So as you all know, I have my own personal server already for all of my movies. What I would like to do is be able to get to the point where I have a separate server whose sole purpose is to put all of the films that we're talking about here. So, for example, Blazing Saddles. Lord knows Blazing Saddles is probably at the top of the hit list. Even though Richard Pryor was involved in the making of the film, doesn't matter, right? We all know that there are certain films that are going to be on the hit list, right? Putting films that are at risk of being either limited, censored, or just all around deleted altogether. Putting that onto this separate server as a full image file that I could go to at any time. And again, this is where I would fight against the company. This is where I would walk that legal line. Is if a company says, hey, we're not selling this anymore, you can't get it from us anymore. At that point, it's okay, well, how else can we access it? Oh, wait, that's right. We have it. And we have a way of getting it to the people that want it. Now, we're not there yet. That's something that could very well happen. So, if this is something that you have interest in, if this is something that you think you might want to contribute to, you can donate via Streamlabs donation. I recommend donating via PayPal just because, as you all know, YouTube takes 30% of every donation. Streamlabs takes very little, just processing fees. And we can get this process started. Now, in order to get the actual server and to get the actual discs themselves, my goal is around $1,000. Now, I know that's a lot of money. It's a difficult time right now. Everyone is obviously trying to save as much money as they can. And also, let's be honest, this is not the most important thing going on in the world right now, right? There are many more important things going on. There are many other projects that are going on. There are many other things that maybe you should donate your money to instead, like people trying to get healthcare, people trying to get surgeries, etc. This is merely for anyone that's a film buff, for anyone that believes in the preservation of film, that believes in the stopping of the censoring of film, and wants to help me get to the point where I can start to actually do this and fully dedicate time to it, because I'm out of storage, right? I have all of my films stored, but I want to start to actually save these movies again in their original forms, full-fledged, not just movies, but the special features, behind the scenes stuff, things that could also, right, get deleted in other things as well. If you've been following the channel the last couple of days, you saw that I've gone to a couple of places like Family Video, a place here locally called McKay's that has a lot of used stuff, has a lot of collector's items, things that you really can't get access to anymore. So those are things that could also at the same time be preserved as well. And I have had some success. So I hold in my hands right now a few of those successes, right? So I actually had a Region B movie that I was able to make that plays on every single thing of Mad Max. Mad Max preserved, right? I have the image file. I have the image file there. Inner Space, recent movie that I got preserved. Big one, Blazing Saddles. Got that one preserved. Gone with the Wind. Biggest one, right? Definitely one of the biggest ones that's being attacked right now. Preserved. All of these discs I just showed you are fully playable films. And the files that I have are taking up pretty much the last bit of gigabit data that I have on my own personal servers, right? So this goal right here, this film preservation project, this is, again, a separate thing to try and not just look through the films that I have to do full saving, right? Not just the movie, but everything with it in the ISO image that could be used to put onto a Blu-ray disc, but also to go about hunting down films or television shows that have either already been canceled or are in danger of canceling, and to preserve them. So, again, that's a project that I have. It's going to be happening for the next 30 days or so. So, again, if that's something that you feel you would like to donate to, great. Again, PayPal is a great option. Streamlabs, great option. Obviously, of course, this is an upgrade to the current setup that I have. But again, it's going towards a separate server meant for this specific project. Because I already have my own server. It already has those, my own films saved. This is to try and preserve those endangered films in their full form, and also to go about trying to hunt down other films to buy those films, because you all know sometimes when they're not easy to find, they go up in price, to get those and to preserve those as well. And I'm willing also to take ideas that you might have, better ideas that you might have. But to me, I think the best thing going forward is, again, to not only have the physical disc, but also to have that digital backup as well. Because discs, as we all know, they can get scratched. And the process that I have now established, I can essentially make a one-to-one copy of a movie, right? So let's say one of my discs, as I'm watching it, gets scratched. If I have that digital file like I do, boom, it's saved. Anyway, that is what I currently have planned. So that's the film preservation server and upgrades project. So again, if you wish to donate to that specifically, I'll mention it again for the next several streams, of course. And again, you'll see the goal above my head. Right now we're at $0, but that's okay. It happens. Again, I know that there's a lot of things going on, more important things in the world right now, but I'm excited about it, and I would love to see it happen. And now a huge shout out to all of my June Patreon members: Albertus Magnus, Animation Commentator, Brian P., David Bobrizik, Dion, Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Frank the Tank and the Shawhan Wiener Dog Clan, Harold Francis, the Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, Intertrap Productions, Jason Clark, Jeffrey Toon, Kenneth Cameo, Lady T, Laura Story, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mike Jackson, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, Orange Hat Reviews, Outpost Dyer, Out of Step with Reality, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, The DJD Show, and Tina B. And also to my Subscribe Star members: Edgardo Martinez, John B., Perpetual Punster, Robert Revo, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, G2 Cool 99, Darkstar 57, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., US 888209 Fast, Dean Heiss, Harold Francis, J. Rod, the Beer Guru, and also Nebanon G. Adams and ZK Man, and Jonathan Carney, and Jacob Juice. Thank you all so much for being a member of Patreon and Subscribestar. And seriously, it really does mean a lot. Helps keeps the light on, helps me able to do things like the giveaways for my $5 and up backers on Patreon and Subscribestar, and also be able to put more stuff into the actual channel itself, including upgrading different components, whether it be webcams, microphones, things like that. All of that helps to support it, and it really does mean a lot. So thank you all so very much. Please, if you want to have your name shouted out or look at any of the other perks, which include things like indeed having access to exclusive 4K digital giveaways every single month, and also an exclusive podcast hosted on Patreon, Subscribestar, and also YouTube memberships as well at the $10 and up level, featuring John the Flickpig Flickinger. Please check all of those things out in the description of this video. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.